We're working on the Choose the Checking Account case study. And so if you go to Videos and Scorecard and scroll down, which checking account is best, that's where you click. And then when it opens up, you can go to download the original. And when you do, open with Microsoft Excel. And here it is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to type our name. And if you notice, I get the 1 point. We're going to cover checking accounts and a little bit on savings accounts, understand the terminology of checking accounts, compare different types of checking accounts and savings accounts. Cherise has realized that she can't keep her entire paycheck in cash at her apartment or carry it around with her in her purse. She's also discovered that it is costly to get her check cashed at the check cashing shop. She's decided that she needs to open a checking account. After work on payday, Cherise takes the bus to the local branch of InSouth. She talks to the bank officer about the various checking account options. While at the bank officer also brings up the idea of opening a savings account and explains why it is beneficial to start saving early in life. At CVTC, RCU is a major supporter. They have accounts similar to those Cherise desires. At RCU, all members have savings accounts. You may also apply for a credit card. So it says that you should click here on video 2, which bank account is best. And this topic here, what we know, is from rcu.org. All checking accounts have free 50 checks, free eBanch and CompuTeller, free ePay and eStatements, and discounted check printing with direct deposit. The first type of checking account is the RCU free checking. You maintain a lower account balance, and it's a no-frills account. No minimum balance, unlimited check writing, and if you use the ATM or check card, you pay $1 a month. Checking Plus, you maintain a lower balance, and you use electronic access, so you still have no minimum balance. You can write up to 15 checks a month, but you get free ATM and check cards, so you have a debit card. Checking Plus Interest, you have a higher balance and you earn interest. No minimum balance, but you get charged $2.50 a month. You can write up to 15 checks per month, earn free dividends, and get a free ATM or check card. And finally, the minimum balance checking, you get all the benefits if you keep $700 in the bank. A $10 charge if the balance falls below $700, and then unlimited checks, dividends, and a free ATM. Okay, so the first question is, how much money can you maintain in an account on a regular basis? So you have to answer that question. If you can keep 0 in, 700 in, or if you overdraw your account. So that's an important topic. I think I can keep $700 in. So it says skip the other questions and select the minimum balance checking. But let's say you couldn't keep $700 in. How many checks will you write in a typical month? Well, if it's less than 16, you would have a different choice than if it's more than 16. If you also use the ATM or debit card, you'd have other choices. So let's say that you use the 16. Then it says skip the next question. Because using ATM cards, if you don't use the ATM card, you should take the free checking account. If you use more checks, more than 3 checks for every ATM usage, in other words, let's say you write out 18 checks, that's 3 more than 15, and you use 1 ATM, well, that would be less than 3 checks for every ATM, or more than 3 checks. The deal is that in either case, you have to pay money. If you use more, you would choose the free checking. If you choose less, you would choose this checking plus. How much money would you need in your account for checking plus to make money? And you would have to take that $2.50 times 0.5% per month. And so if you do that math, $2.50 divided by 0.005, you would need to have, no, just wait. Yeah, you would need to have $500, or 0.005 divided by 12, clear. Let's do this again. $2.50 times 12 is $60, or $30. You need $30 per year divided by 0.005 means that you need $6,000 in your account in order to have money. Oops, I might have made a mistake when I was doing that. Let's click the hint. Since you interest, it's $2.50 times 0.005. So let's 2.5 divided by 0.0005 is $5,000 in your account. Okay. And then which account did you select? I would select the minimum balance checking. Now, if you overdraft, make sure that you choose the overdraft protection. We're going to see why in the next section. For the scenarios below, you're going to calculate the service charge for each of the different accounts. Your low balance for the month is $100. That's okay with the free checking or with the checking plus. But with the minimum balance checking, you're going to pay that $10 because you fell below the $700. And then it says you wrote 23 checks last month. Well, you don't pay anything for checks for that first one. For the second account, let's look at the service charges here, and you will see that if you have, if you write out, each check is 30 cents for every check over 15. Well, you have 8 checks over 15, so you'd pay $2.40. You don't pay any for minimum balance checking. ATM usage, it says you use the ATM or debit card 6 times, 2 of which were not RCU. Well, with free checking, you pay $1 for each one of them. You don't pay any because you have free ATM usage. And with minimum, I think it was free, wasn't it? Unlimited, yep, ATM. And then with your minimum balance checking account, you don't pay any either. Now, what do you pay for using an ATM that's not RCU? Let's look at the service charges again. And if you'll notice here, non-RCU ATM withdrawals are $2 each if you have the over 6. If you have a minimum balance checking. If you have a free checking, they're $2 each. And if you have checking plus, you get 6 free. So you pay $2 for each one of them, which is $4. You don't pay any at these two. Free checking has a $2 per non-RCU ATM. Now that should be $2. Let's try $2. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure that that's right because it's supposed to be $4. So when you do your assignment, it'll be $4. Don't worry about that. Okay, what's the total here? This will be $10 for you, but for me it's going to be $8, $240, and $10. Okay. Next one. Your low balance for the month is $800. You wrote 14 checks, used your ATM or debit card 10 times, 7 were non-RCU. Okay, well, minimum balance charge is nothing for any of those accounts. Charges for checks written. Well, you don't have any charge for free checking. Since you wrote 14 checks with checking plus, you can write up to 15 per month, so that we're still good there also. And minimum balance checking, we're fine also. ATM usage. It says 10 times 10 times $1 each is $10. These would both be 0 because you don't have to pay for ATM usage. Now it says 7 were non-RCUs, so that's $14 here, and $2 here, and $2 here, because you get 6 free for Checking Plus and minimum balance checking. This is $24, this is $2, and this is $2. Your low balance for the month is negative 200. You wrote 14 checks last month. 8 were written while the balance was negative. Used your ATM card 10 times, 5 times while the balance was negative, 8 at non-RCU ATMs. Okay, minimum balance charge is $30 in each case because you went below the minimum. Let's check to make sure that we have that right. If you go below the minimum, that might be just, these are both 0. This is $10, sorry. Charges for checks written. Okay, well, you only wrote 14 checks in any case, so you don't have to pay for the checks. The ATM charge is, for the first one is $10. None for the other two. Our non-RCU usage, well, it says 8 of them were not at RCU, so that's $16 there, and it's only 2 over the minimum, for each of these two. And then for overdraft or insufficient funds, you have $30 per item. Well, it says 8 checks and 5 ATM usages. So that's 13 times 30 is $390 for each one of these different accounts. So you really get in trouble if you overdraft. $390, that's just to RCU. Plus you have to usually pay, like if it's at Walmart, I think it's like $25 a check if you overdraft. So the total here is $416. Total here is $394. Total here is $404. Now your low balance is $200. You still wrote the same number of checks. You still had the ATM the same, but you have overdraft protection. Let's see what happens now. Well, the only one you have to pay minimum balance is the minimum balance account. Okay, charges for checks written. You don't have to pay for any checks. That's the same. ATM usage, you still have to pay the $10 because you had 10 ATM charges, none for the other two. Non-RCU, you have to pay for all 8 of them there, but for each of the other two, you only have to pay for 2 of them. Interest charges, 18% yearly interest on $200. Okay, so we're going to take 200 times 0.18 is $36 divided by 12 months is $3 a month. And so you see that if you have that overdraft protection, you save a lot of money. In fact, it only will cost you $29, $7, and $17. So make sure that you choose a checking account that's best for you. Save your work. And then remember that to upload it again, you go to document sharing and Excel projects, upload that document, and then turn it in. And we'll see you next time. Bye now.